Hey, so, welcome to the first devlog of Nightly Cooking VR. Since this is an entirely new project by us, I figure the best way to start our first devlog is simply to ask, what is Nightly Cooking VR?
Nightly Cooking is a VR tavern keeping game where you would cook food, brew alcohol, serve customers in the dining area, and customize whatever kitchen you want.
For this devlog, we're in what we consider to be a very, very early alpha build of the game. So, generally, things are going to be broken, they might look a little weird. If you see any strange visual issues, that's why. We figured it would be best to give this devlog in the game, just so you get a sort of feel for the vibe we're going for, even if it's not perfect. While we have developed a game before, called Goblins of Chaos, you can find it on itch.io, this is our first under the name Silverthorn Games.
You might be wondering, what is Silverthorn Games, and why start with a tavern keeping game? The reason is, we want to nail interacting with objects. We want to make sure that it feels right when you're doing stuff, because VR is, at its core, a lot more immersive than PC games, and we want to make sure that we get it correctly.
It's not like we just wanted to create a tavern keeping game to learn from its mechanics, though. We want to make this game. So, what were some of your biggest inspirations for the idea of Nightly Cooking?
I'd have to say a few games. Played Up, Traveler's Rest, and a small game called Rags to Dishes. All with their own unique aspects that I feel like would work in a VR environment.
One other inspiration, at least visually, that you might have noticed just by looking at us is A Township Tale. Obviously, the characters are somewhat inspired by their style, the lack of legs, everybody having a skirt, that whole thing. But beyond that, it doesn't really influence our game too much. Alright, and now time for by far the most important question. What's the core gameplay of Nightly Cooking really look like?
Like most tavern keeping games, your goal is to make food, brew drinks, and serve to your customers to make them happy. Some special aspects about this game is kitchen customization. So each thing is about a meter wide, and we're on a grid. You were able to customize where things are and make your unique kitchen.
One other major goal of this game, as you can probably tell by looking at us, was to do multiplayer. Our first game, Goblins of Chaos, didn't really have multiplayer in any aspect, so we needed to learn that if we ever wanted to build up to doing bigger multiplayer games. So, a small-scale game like this, that is definitely enhanced by multiplayer, is a good test bed.
Our goal right now is to release a demo in the next few months. By releasing a demo, we're going to be able to review our core concepts for the game to make sure that it's, well, good, and make sure that people enjoy it before we head a little bit too deep.
We're also planning to hear what players like and want to see more of, and implement more of those things as a result. After we've released the demo, what do we plan to work on? What can players expect to see with the full release of the game, ideally later this year?
We have a couple ideas for what we want to do after the demo. One is a world outside of the tavern. So like a couple stores that you'd be able to go into, purchase ingredients, not just from like a UI or something in the tavern. Another thing we want to do after the demo is make this game have interesting twists to it. One thing is the ability to explore the depths beneath.
And all of the interesting things that might lie in wait for you there. So, since this is our first game as Silverthorn Games, what can our players expect in future games, things that come after this? What, as a studio, is our primary goal and focus?
Once we know how to make the best interaction for VR, we want to explore different ideas. One game we want to work on after this tavern keeping game is a dungeon delver. That will allow us to focus on combat and magic systems. Overall, as a studio, we want to make worlds that inspire people. These mythical, interesting places.
And ideally, each one would have more to it, more depth, more intrigue, than just a cursory glance would lead you to believe. We plan to upload these devlogs semi-regularly. We're not committing to a specific schedule, but once every week or two is our goal. The other devlogs after this are going to focus more on the nitty-gritty of actually making the game, but we wanted this first one to give you an overview of what it is we're actually making here.
We hope that you follow us through our journey as we make these devlogs, and we also hope that you play our demo when it comes out.
And with that, we'll see you in the kitchen.